hour continues. Former Baylor quarterback and color analyst for Baylor Radio, J.J. Joe, with us on Tuesdays, and we always appreciate his time. We can go to a lot of different things, J.J. Let's start with, obviously, the win in Norman, only the second time ever, and they found a way, despite maybe not having their A game on either side of the ball.
Yeah, hey, guys, thanks for having me. And it was, we were talking about it after the game, and I felt uneasy about that thing until Squirrel converted there late in the game. But it was one of those games where you're on the road for the second consecutive week, and even offensively, as much as I thought, we looked at it, we ran for over 280 yards, but we had some uneven times offensively and defensively. Oklahoma and that Levy-led offense, man, they had their way. We just didn't have a solution. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get on the road and, you think you have a pretty decent plan and you look up and, man, you just scraping and scratching and clawing to get a win, and that's what they got.
JJ, do you think there's a time the next three games where everything will hit at once?
I'm waiting on it. I wrote that today. I felt like offensively we just got so much more to give. And then I also defensively, I just feel like, I feel like our secondary is getting better. Not that they're, where we were last year, because we lost a lot of older players, but I feel like they're getting better. And then when they start, I think, playing better, the secondary, it's like up front, we just don't bring, that level of energy. And that, and one thing I'll say this, one thing about being led by what I call the big guys is, sometimes it takes a little bit to get big guys going. And when you have a team that really is led by big guys, those guys like to hibernate sometimes, man. And I think we're kind of following that lead, right? I think we kind of follow the lead like, I felt like Apu hibernated a little on a Saturday. Not that he played bad or horrible, but, we're in that stretch run where you just really need those guys to be gassed up. And, it's like anything. Big guys, man, it takes a lot to get them going. And we need them really to kind of figure it out and get going these last 3 weeks.
JJ, what did you think of the way that Blake Shapen played on Saturday?
Blake did what was necessary. It's interesting. I felt like he had a pretty decent game going, and actually the interception, I saw what he saw. He just let it go too early. Gavin was about to, we were driving down the end of the half, I think, and it was 2nd and 9. And I kind of had to deal with the whole play calls there, but that's another thing. But he saw Gavin about to come across, and he anticipated. And Gavin, he just didn't give Gavin that time, and he had time. I don't think they had a lot of pressure on him. He had time. If he just waits probably a tick longer, Gavin is in the hole, and Gavin catches that versus it getting picked off. But overall, I think Blake did what was necessary on the road, which, that's what you have to do sometimes. Just do what is necessary, make the basic plays, try to avoid the big mistakes, and help us get out of there with the dub, and that's what he did.
JJ, with the younger receivers starting to, at least it appears, Josh Cameron, who had clutch catches, obviously Hal Presley had the third and I think it was 6 or 8 with 14-yarder in that drive that Squirrel sealed the game. With the younger receivers stepping up, yes, there have been issues with Monterey in and out. Would you expect the passing game to get a little bit better going forward, even though the competition is getting better?
I really do. And the reason it's really twofold. One, the development. We can see it. Josh Cameron's playing well. I believe Monterey, when he gets back, he's dealing with a little hammy, as Coach called it. So, he'll get better. But, I think, with Josh stepping up and Hal Presley actually coming on, and those guys are a little inconsistent. And Gavin, he's kind of inconsistent too, because he's an inexperienced player. I would expect for them, Smoke, to really kind of hold forward and be able to really help us here in these last 3 games. But I really think this receiving core, with Drake Dabney out, they need Ben to play well, and they need Monterey to be in the game. Monterey has a different level of threat to most defenses that we just don't have now. And if he's not in consistently, we start to face compression a little bit, and that's what makes things a little tough. So we need him at least healthy. He didn't have to come out and have 10 catches, but Monterey has to be in the formula for this offense to reach its potential.
JJ, Kansas State this week, very interesting challenge defensively in that you're going to have to stop the run no matter what, whether it's Adrian Martinez in there or if they switch to Will Howard for any reason during it. What do you think that they will do to try to attack that and keep, especially when Adrian Martinez is in, him in the well?
Hey, man, they have a really good scheme. They know who they are. They don't get confused. They have concepts that build off one another. So you can't just key and say, oh, this is a run set. They have a throw off that. They have a counter off that. And they're gonna single wing you, I call it. Adrian Martinez is going to run the ball. If Will Howard gets in, he is going to run the ball. So that means all 11 guys are in play. And if we are not up front, prepared to bring big boy pants, they will run for a couple of bills plus on you, and they will not stop. So I mean, I believe Adrian Martinez is going to play. I think he played last week, and he can run it. I mean, he can run it. You have to force Adrian Martinez to beat you throwing the ball. I'm not saying he can't do it, but you have to force him to do it. Because if you let him run, he has proven he will beat you with his legs.
JJ, what was that like to see them go win in Norman for only the second time ever and the first time in a while?
Man, it was huge. Because, I mean, I really thought we had the better team. I still think we had the better team.
Agreed.
But OU, give them credit. They played a really solid football game outside of a few tipped balls. In this defense, and there, if we want to give the defense a hard time for giving up the yards, we have to give them credit for making the play when they needed to make the play. Those are the 3 interceptions in the first half to keep us alive. They made a 4th and 1 stop. They did a couple things that they needed to do to get us to win. So it was great to get the win up in Norman because it is a very difficult place to play. That OU team is not the same one that was at the Cotton Bowl against UT, and it was not the same one that played at TCU when Dylan Gabriel went out. It was not the same one that lost to Kansas State, I think, to open up conference play. This is a team that's kind of coming together. And with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, they are a different team. So, I mean, that was a hard-fought win. It was well-deserved.
JJ, the defense, they made those plays, the interceptions you're talking about. The defensive line, though, is more now they're the ones that are in and out a little bit. The defensive backs are more engaged. Why can't they all keep pace with each other?
Yeah, Paul, man, I bet you if I had the answer to that, I mean, I think that's what Coach is looking for. He's looking for us to grow up and put it together. And I think it's part of what I think is that, when this team is led by those guys up front. I could tell, I forgot it was a couple games ago. I forget it was the last home game, probably what it was. It's been like forever. I could tell Apu was in that game. From the jump, I could tell he was in it. And if Apu is in a game, I'm going to tell you now, if your front guys are in a game, you feel like, oh, it's good now. We got them. Because there's nothing like having big guys that are gassed for a game. The challenge is it's hard to get big guys gassed for a game until they get in the game and have success. And normally the big guys come along, right? They'll like, oh man, those guys, those backers or those running backs or the quarterback making plays. Let me get in. But this team has to be led by our guys up front, and it's hard to get them going. And the problem is if they don't get going, then it's putting a lot of stress on your back end that's relatively young. And if they get it going, then it really helps everybody else. So, man, I really hope these guys look at film this week and realize, hey, it's going to be a whole lot of, it's going to be a whole lot of power this way, counter this way, zone read this way. But we're going to get a lot of action. So I'm hoping they're gassed up for the game.
Your thoughts about what now becomes a three-headed monster at running back with what we saw from Squirrel, monstrous game, huge run to seal it. Quaylon Jones seems to kind of have turned the corner. He's not someone that gets knocked over as early as much. He's making plays. Had a huge game for him. And then, of course, Richard Reese was under the weather, and the fact he's right there next week as well.
Smoke. I mean, like, I wasn't sure what we were going to get. But here we go. We're 3 games to go, and we have fingers crossed and prayers up. We have a healthy Reese, prayerfully. This bug is gone. A healthy Squirrel, and a healthy Quaylen. I would assume that Tay is going. I would think he'd shirt. I mean, he's been gone for a long time. You can get it done with those 3. I mean, I believe that with those 3, if we can ever get them all in a game and we're able to use them all, the way Coach wants to use them, this could be this running game could rival or even be better than the one last year. Because if you remember, late last year, Abram was not healthy. He was not healthy. So I mean, it could be special, and I think it would open up that passing game even more, and that would give these young receivers more advantageous look and easier coverage to run routes against. So I'm looking forward to it, man. The way Squirrel ran, and you get Reese in there too. Woo-hoo! Man, we might go back to SMU 1993. We ran it 90-something times. I don't think we threw a pass, Mo.
Are you serious?
We did not. We did not. I had a bum wing. We ran it. I think you got to look at the archive. I think we ran 90. We had 93 plays. They were all rushing.
That reminds me of the bowl game against UCLA when Nick Florence and them got hot at 2012. And they went into the bowl game. Everyone's talking about Baylor throwing the ball around. And they threw like 11 or 13 passes. And I asked Sprouse after the game, I said, did you ever expect going to the game you're going to throw 11 to 13 passes and win? He goes, I had no idea that's all we threw it. And sometimes that's what you do. Paul, you looking that up?
I'm trying to find it.
All right, JJ.
Yeah, that's October 93. So let's check it out. 92 or 93 rushes.
So Kansas State and then TCU and then, of course, Texas. We know what the Big 12 setup is right now with TCU running the conference at this time. Do players ever look 2-3 games? I know you got to worry about K-State because otherwise it doesn't matter. Do they talk in the locker room about we have everything in front of us? All 3 games will allow us to play for another Big 12 title if they win?
Of course, yeah. They're talking about it, but the teams that end up winning don't let it distract them. Right? The players are going to talk about it because they see it. They're like, we have 3 to go. We're in the last quarter of the season, and we have everything we want in front of us, man. We just got to go get it. So they'll talk, but like when it comes to preparation, nothing matters except for Kansas State. And I think the way Coach has these guys wired and zoned in, and they have some veterans, nothing matters except for this week. But this is the big. You can always say that's the big one. But I think this team here, which is built to do what we're doing, they're built to be physical and tough. This team will be the biggest challenge for Baylor. I think if Baylor can win this one, and it will be very difficult to beat Kansas State, then I think they would be right there and able to take care of business the last 2 weeks. Now, it won't be easy, but this is the big one because of how physical and I think how good and how well coached this team is.
JJ, go ahead.
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to call Coach Taff after we're done. I'm sure he's got it somewhere in his office. But as far as the internet goes, at about 20 after before the 1999 or so game, 2000 game, they don't have the box scores, JJ. So we'll have to.
That's crazy.
We'll have to take your word.
Yeah,
we'll have to take your word for it. I'll have to go to the library and get on the microfiche machine.
Yeah, exactly. Take my word. It was 90. I think it was 93 rushes. No pass.
That's awesome. JJ, thank you very much. We'll see you Saturday at McLean Stadium. JJ Joe, former Baylor quarterback, Baylor Radio, with us on the win against Oklahoma, the game with Kansas State, and play of various position groups or players. This is 365 Sports.